The Nile was a ribbon of liquid glass reflecting a sun that felt like a physical weight on the back of every slave in Goshen. In the heart of Pi-Ramesses, Moses stood on a balcony of polished limestone. He was dressed in the finest byssus linen, his eyes lined with galena, looking every bit the grandson of a pharaoh. But beneath the Egyptian kohl, his soul was a storm. For 40 years, he had walked the line between two worlds. To the Egyptians, he was a gifted general, a man of sharp intellect and silent brooding. To the Hebrews, he was a ghost of brother who lived in the house of the enemy. You look at them as if you are counting the bricks they lay, a voice said behind him. It was Ramesses, the crown prince, draped in gold and arrogance. They are just mud and straw. Moses, don't waste your philosophy on the cattle of the state. Moses didn't turn. He was watching an old man below, whose back was a map of scars, collapsing under a load of sun-dried silt. If they are cattle, Ramesses, then we are merely the butchers. Is that the legacy of the gods? The transition from prince to fugitive happened in the space of a heartbeat. One blow, one Egyptian overseer dead in the sand. One panicked realization that the blood on his hands was the same color as the blood of the slaves. The flight into the Sinai was a descent into a different kind of hell. The gold of the palace was replaced by the scorched orange of the desert. Moses stripped away his linen, his titles, and his language. By the time he reached the wells of Midian, he was no longer a prince. He was a man of the dust. He married Zipporah, the daughter of a priest, and for 40 years another lifetime he traded the scepter for a shepherd's crook. He learned the language of the wind, the path of the mountain goat, and the profound silence of the stars. He thought he was forgotten. He was wrong. Mount Horeb stood like a jagged tooth against the sky. Moses was chasing a stray lamb when he saw it, a bush that burned with a light that didn't cast shadows. It crackled, but the leaves remained green. Moses, the voice was not a sound, but a vibration in his marrow. Take off your sandals. In that moment, the shepherd was dismantled. The I Am spoke not as a local Egyptian deity of the sun or the river, but as the foundational reality. The mission was suicide, return to the heart of the world's greatest empire and demand the release of its entire labor force. I am slow of speech, Moses pleaded, his voice cracking from decades of talking only to sheep. Who made man's mouth? The fire replied. The return to Egypt was a walk into a lion's den. When Moses and his brother Aaron stood before Pharaoh, the air in the throne room was thick with incense and hostility. Let my people go, Moses said. He didn't shout. The authority wasn't his. He was merely the vessel. Pharaoh laughed a cold, metallic sound. I do not know this, Lord, and I will not let Israel go. If they have time to dream of desert festivals, they have too much time on their hands. Double their work. No more straw for the bricks. The first sign was a warning. Aaron cast down his staff, and it became a serpent, a direct insult to the uraeus, the cobra on Pharaoh's crown. The Egyptian magicians mimicked the feat with their sleight of hand, but Aaron's serpent consumed theirs. It was a silent prophecy. The god of the slaves would devour the gods of the masters. The first plague was an ecological and theological nightmare. Moses struck the Nile, the lifeblood of Egypt, the god Hapi himself. The water turned to a thick, copper-smelling gore. The fish died and floated in stinking silver sheets. The Egyptians dug frantically for wells, but the earth itself seemed to bleed. For 7 days, the empire gasped for a drink. But Pharaoh's heart was as hard as the basalt of his statues. Then came the frogs, a carpet of slimy, croaking life that filled ovens, beds, and golden bowls. Then the lice, rising from the very dust the slaves worked. Then the flies, a black cloud that tasted of rot. With each plague, the distinction grew. In Goshen, where the Hebrews lived, the sun shone, the water stayed clear, and the air was still. Egypt was being systematically dismantled, layer by layer.